The chaperone begins by showing a man named Raymond Bradstone. Ray was talking to a woman on the phone in prison, but in the middle of the conversation, a male prisoner suddenly interrupts and taunts him harshly. With his physical strength, Ray could easily knock the strange man unconscious with one hit. A few days later, Ray finally got out of prison after serving his prison term of several years. Before he left, he had time to give the prison warden some books he had been reading. While outside the gates, Ray asked the warden what everyone who had just gotten out of prison usually did. The warden replied that most people who come out of prison usually do stupid and silly things. Not long after, Ray was released from prison. A man named Larue came to invite him to rob money at a bank. Larue was his partner in the robbery he committed in the past. Larue tries to persuade him to join his robbery and forces him to get into the car. Ray, who initially ignored Larue, suddenly stopped and got into the car. However, he did not get into the car to follow Larue's request but to take the car away and leave him behind. At night, Ray kept staring at the photo of his wife and daughter, hoping he would see them soon. He intends to become a better person and leave all the bad habits in the past to be a worthy husband and father to his wife and daughter. The next day, Ray came to visit his wife, Lynne Bradstone, and his daughter, Sally Bradstone. However, his wife's response was not so good because she didn't want to be reunited with him. She considers him to be an irresponsible and unreliable man. Moreover, Ray has been unable to do his role as a good husband and father. Shortly after that, Sally, who had just come home from school, came and saw Ray at the door. She looks annoyed with his presence, and it seems she still can't accept him back. She refused the teddy bear he gave and immediately rushed into the house. The next day, Ray comes to Sally's school to apologize, hoping she can accept him back. But Sally was still disappointed with Ray's actions and couldn't forgive him. He tried to explain that he had changed into a better person and would continue to strive to always be by her side. Unfortunately, it was difficult for her to believe his words, so she immediately left him. Shortly after, the sound of firecrackers was suddenly heard from another direction. It turned out that several children were fighting and making a fuss in the school corridor. Ray quickly separated the two boys and handed them over to the principal. Shortly after, Sally's homeroom teacher, Miss Miller, approached him. After introducing himself as Sally's father, Miss Miller offers him to join on a museum tour that will be held next week as a chaperone and bodyguard. Ray, who at that time did not have any activities, immediately accepted the offer so that he could have more opportunities to be closer to his daughter. Hearing this, Sally looked annoyed and immediately left him. In the evening, Larue comes to Ray's apartment to talk to him. Larue said that he would not report Ray for the theft of the car if he was willing to participate in the bank robbery in the next few days. Ray felt angry, and he immediately rejected Larue's invitation. It's because Larue had betrayed and made him stuck in prison for years. However, Larue still insisted on forcing him to join his group. This made Ray so annoyed and angry that makes him almost killed Larue.
7 years! I lost my wife! I lost my kid!
The next day, Ray returned to his wife's house to visit Lynne and Sally. However, he received the same rejection as before. He even had to witness his wife kissing another man in front of him. Apparently, Lynne already has another boyfriend and has moved on from Ray. She asked him to leave because she and her daughter no longer wanted to be back with him. But Ray did not give up and tried convincing his wife that he would make his family's life happier. Lynne then said that Ray would never be able to improve their lives with his current situation without money and a job. Realizing that he must immediately raise money for his family, Ray decides to look for work in several places. However, getting a job is not easy with his criminal record. Several offices rejected him immediately after seeing his criminal record application. After a whole day of trying, Ray still couldn't find a job at all, and the situation was made worse when he found that his apartment had caught fire. At night, Ray, who began to give up, finally decided to join Larue's group, who were about to do a robbery at a bank.
Good to have you back, Ray.
The next day, Larue begins to do his robbery plan at a large bank with Ray and 2 of his men. Larue asks him to wait in the car while they go to rob the bank.
Trick-or-treat, everybody down on the floor.
While Ray was waiting in the car, he coincidentally saw Sally and her friends going to the museum for a study tour. He remembered the good times when he and Sally could still spend time together. All these memories made Ray realize that what he was doing right now was very stupid. Because if he got caught, he would be in prison for years, and he would not be able to see Sally for a long time. Because of that, Ray decided to quit his intention to help the robbery and immediately threw the car keys in the bushes. After that, Ray immediately got into the bus the students were riding and accompanied them on a study tour at the Dinosaur Museum. Seeing Ray get into the bus, Sally tried to ask him to get out of the bus, but he ignored her and insisted on staying on the bus. On the other hand, after Larue and his men managed to get the money, they immediately got into the car only to find that Ray had left and the car keys were missing. They rushed to run with the stolen money before the police found them. Unfortunately, Larue's friend, Domo, is separated from them and accidentally drops the money bag in a pile of school student bags. Domo panicked and immediately ran away, leaving the bag with the students' suitcases. Seeing this, Larue and his men are disappointed and annoyed with him. However, they could not do much because they had to run away immediately and hide from the police. Meanwhile, Domo, who keeps running from the police, suddenly gets into a car accident and falls unconscious. Larue and the rest of his crew steal a car to catch the school bus that has brought a suitcase full of their stolen money. Unfortunately, they lost track after accidentally hitting a truck in front of them. On the other hand, Domo, who had woken up in the hospital, was immediately interviewed by the police to give information about everyone involved in the bank robbery. The police then received information through the interrogation that the stolen money was currently in a school bus parked near the bank. After traveling for several hours, Ray and the students finally arrived at the Dinosaur Museum. When he found out that the tour guide who was supposed to guide the students were sick, Ray immediately volunteered to be the group's tour guide. He knows a lot about dinosaurs because he read many books while still in prison. Moments later, Ray realized that Larue and his men had arrived at the museum, so he told the students to hurry back to the school bus. Meanwhile, Ray will lure Larue and his men into the toilet so that he can beat them. He tried to explain to them that he no longer wanted to be involved in all their affairs. Larue's men then tell him that the money they stole is currently on the school bus, and they ask him to take the money. After that, Ray immediately rode the school bus and took them to the location of the next study tour. After arriving at the destination, Ray immediately checked the contents of the car's trunk to check the bag containing the money from the bank robbery. He intends to return the stolen money to Larue because if he didn't do that, his daughter would get hurt. However, the police suddenly appeared when Larue and his men were about to take the money, so they had to run from the police. After escaping from the police, they meet 3 Mexican mafia men and ask for their help in catching Ray. In the afternoon, Ray and the students went to a hotel where they would stay for a while. He immediately took the stolen money bag and brought it into his room. Ray then calls Larue and asks him to pick up the stolen money in front of the hotel where he stays. But Larue refused because the place was too crowded and too risky. Larue then asked him to send the money to a hidden and safer location. Before Ray met Larue, he used the opportunity to spend time with Sally. He invites her to a record store to buy a cassette of Sally's favorite music and takes her to the restaurant to eat. At the same time, several detectives arrived at the hotel where the students were staying and interviewed Miss Miller about Ray's whereabouts. A few hours later, when Ray was about to return to the hotel, he saw several police officers pacing in front of the hotel. He realized he had become a target. Then he explained what really happened to Sally and asked her to take the bag in his room. After getting the bag, Ray immediately asked Sally to return to the hotel and gather with the other students. He didn't want Sally to be in danger because Larue and his men were still on the loose. Unfortunately, when Sally was about to enter the hotel, Larue and his men had already caught and kidnapped her. On the other hand, Ray, who had arrived at the location that Larue told him about, was suddenly confronted by the Mexican mafia and almost attacked by them. Fortunately, with his fighting ability, he can defeat the mafia one by one very easily. Soon after, Ray got a call from Larue, who said he had kidnapped Sally. Ray felt furious when hearing this and warned Larue not to hurt Sally. Larue then told him to take the stolen money and take it to a secret place to make an exchange. Ray immediately arrived at the location that was told by Larue by taking a taxi. Before getting off the taxi, he had already asked the taxi driver to escape quickly after Sally got into the taxi. After successfully escaping, Sally finally arrived inside the hotel safely. However, Sally realized that her father was in danger. She decided to find and help her father. She asks for help from her 3 male friends, Josh, Benny, and Iqbal. After Iqbal manages to track Sally's father using his cell phone, Benny tries to distract the police using firecrackers so they can leave the hotel. On the other hand, Ray is being held hostage by Larue and his men because he has tricked them with a fake bag containing a doll. Larue continuously beats him, so he would tell Larue the location where he has hidden the stolen money. However, Ray still chose to remain silent and didn't say anything. Shortly after, Sally and her friends arrived at the place where Ray was being held and immediately split up to defeat Larue and his men. At the same time, Ray tried to contact an acquaintance who was a radio announcer. The police finally found out where he was at this time through the broadcast. At that time, Larue, who did not realize that their conversation was being recorded, openly admitted that Ray was actually innocent. All this time, he had only wanted to take advantage of Ray. At the same time, the police arrived at the location and immediately arrested Larue and his men. Ray was presumed innocent because he was already on the bus with the students when the robbery happened. Shortly after, Lynne came to make sure Sally was okay. At that point, Ray managed to prove to his wife that he was someone she could rely on and had changed into a better person. The moral that can be learned from this movie is to keep trying to be a better person and leave the bad habits in the past.